Allo, allo, it's Nia. Welcome to AI Creator World Podcast, the place where creators learn how to grow faster, build smarter, and turn artificial intelligence into real opportunity. Here, we explore powerful AI tools, content strategies, personal branding systems, and new ways to create income in the digital era. If you are building something online, you are in the right place. Let's begin.
Usually when we talk about building a massive, commercially successful influencer empire, there is this expectation of a very specific and, frankly, a very exhausting physical reality.
Okay, it's a grind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you picture a top-tier creator, your mind immediately goes to the hardware and the hustle. You picture the massive, blinding ring light reflecting in their eyes. You picture the expensive, heavy DSLR camera perfectly positioned on a tripod.
And the messy living room just out of frame.
Yes,
You-
the chaotic living room that they had to, shove all their laundry into the corner of. And most importantly, you picture a highly energetic, slightly frantic human being at the center of it all, constantly performing for the lens.
Well, the traditional model is fundamentally anchored in biology. It demands a physical body, an expressive face, vocal cords that don't give out, and just this immense, almost unsustainable reserve of personal emotional energy. You're trading your literal physical presence for attention.
Right. But what if you could completely bypass all of that physical friction? What if building an audience of millions, landing five-figure brand sponsorships, and becoming a globally recognized face in a specific niche didn't require a ring light?
Or a camera at all.
Exactly. What if it didn't require a camera at all? What if you, sitting in your living room right now, could build a media empire that didn't even require a real human being at the center of it?
I mean, it shatters the foundational assumption of the creator economy. We've always assumed that influence required a human to be influential. And yet, this completely synthetic approach is happening right now at an unprecedented industrialized scale.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we have a truly fascinating mission lined up for you. We are going to completely deconstruct a comprehensive, newly published pillar guide from the AI Creator World team. It's titled How to Become an AI Influencer in 2026 Ultimate Step-by-Step Guide.
It's a massive document.
It really is. And our goal today is to take this 10-step playbook apart, gear by gear, and uncover exactly how the ground of the creator economy has fundamentally shifted beneath our feet. By the end of this conversation, you're going to understand the underlying mechanics, the specific software stacks, and the surprisingly deep psychological strategies driving the booming AI influencer industry.
The timeline context here is vital before we get into the weeds, though. If we rewind just 3 years, generating a consistent photorealistic digital human and animating it to speak was a highly technical, wildly expensive, and highly experimental niche.
Oh, absolutely. It was impossible for normal people.
Right. It required massive computing power and specialized knowledge. But today, in 2026, it is a measurable, highly systematized, and completely democratized career path. The real revelation in this source material isn't just that the algorithms have gotten smarter. It's how radically accessible this entire production studio has become for absolute beginners.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the premise of this guide is genuinely audacious. It's telling you, the listener, that you can actively compete against established human creators and win with zero prior coding knowledge, zero graphic design background, and absolutely zero video editing skills.
The barrier to entry has essentially flatlined.
Completely flatline.
We are looking at the ultimate collapse of production costs. I mean, the guide highlights financial and temporal metrics that are frankly staggering when contrasted with the traditional influencer model. They outline a workflow encompassing ideation, script writing, image generation, video rendering, editing, and multi-platform distribution that can be entirely managed and executed by a single person.
Wait, all of that by one person?
All of it, by one person in under an hour a day.
Under an hour. And let's talk about the cost, because that's the real kicker here. Roughly 60 to 80 British pounds a month. That is the cost of a decent gym membership, and it replaces what used to be a massive capital expenditure.
It's practically nothing for a business startup.
Exactly. Think about what a human creator needs. You used to need a charismatic, camera-ready presence, which, let's be real, you can't really buy. You needed a production team, or at least a highly tolerant partner to hold the camera.
Yeah, the Instagram husbands.
Right. You needed a serious budget for outfits, travel, aesthetic background locations, and eventually creative agencies to help you secure and negotiate brand deals.
Well, those logistical hurdles functioned as a moat, protecting established creators from a flood of new competition. Now, that moat has been drained. The guide points to two converging macroeconomic factors that make 2026 the golden window for this specific business model.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, despite the absolute ubiquity of AI in the news, the actual application of these tools to create consistent, high-quality, niche-specific influencer accounts is surprisingly low. The market hasn't fully saturated yet.
Interesting. So the hype is high, but the execution is low.
Exactly. Second, and perhaps more importantly, the social media algorithms themselves have undergone a fundamental shift. They're aggressively prioritizing the exact type of relentless, high-volume consistency that only automated systems can truly maintain.
Oh, wow. Because algorithms don't sleep.
Right. Biological creators need sleep. They get sick. They experience creative burnout. A well-prompted AI production pipeline does not.
You know, it feels incredibly similar to the evolution of music production. Like, decades ago, if you wanted to make a record, you needed $1 million studio with acoustic soundproofing, massive analog mixing boards, and a whole team of audio engineers.
Yeah, it was gate-kept by capital.
Totally. Then software came along, and suddenly kids were making platinum Grammy-winning albums on a cracked version of Ableton on a laptop in a messy bedroom. We went from the studio era to the bedroom producer era. Now we're doing the exact same thing with human identity and celebrity. We are literally rendering fame from a laptop.
The bedroom producer analogy is perfect, but we are applying it to visual media and parasocial relationships. But that democratization introduces a massive new problem.
Right, because if anyone can do it.
Exactly. When the technical and financial barriers fall to effectively zero, the market naturally risks getting flooded with low-effort noise. If anyone listening to us right now can spin up a photorealistic avatar for 80 quid, the central question becomes, how does a brand new synthetic creator actually cut through the algorithmic feed and capture human attention?
Right, because just looking like a real person isn't enough anymore. If the tech is accessible to everyone, the visual fidelity is no longer your competitive advantage. You need a strategy. And the guide argues that the foundation of cutting through the noise isn't about the face you generate, it's about the lane you pick.
The niche selection is framed as the single most critical strategic decision you will make. It dictates the ceiling of your eventual commercial success. The guide is ruthless on this point. A broad, general interest, lifestyle AI account will fail.
You can't just be an attractive digital person drinking coffee.
No, you cannot be a digital everyman or every woman. You have to be hyper-specific.
So the source outlines the top commercial niches right now, and the list is really telling. You have fashion and style, which is obvious it's a purely visual medium where the clothes are the star. Technology and AI is a very meta niche, but incredibly lucrative for B2B sponsorships on platforms like LinkedIn or TikTok.
Mm.
Wellness and fitness is massive. Finance and investing offer some of the highest monetization potential because, well, financial brands pay massive premiums for leads.
Gaming and entertainment is also a natural fit for digital avatars.
Yeah, that makes sense. But the one that stopped me in my tracks was sustainable living. The guide specifically red circles this niche, noting it has surprisingly low AI competition right now.
The strategic opening there is massive. Sustainable living commands a highly engaged, socially conscious, and actively purchasing demographic. Brands in the eco-friendly, zero-waste, or organic spaces are desperate for scalable influencers who perfectly align with their delicate brand messaging.
And there just aren't many AI avatars doing that.
Currently, there is a vacuum of high-quality AI creators operating in that vertical.
Okay, but hold on. Let me push back on that because this is where my brain starts short-circuiting a bit. If I'm an audience member scrolling through my feed and I follow a wellness influencer or a sustainable living advocate, isn't it inherently fundamentally contradictory that a synthetic server farm generated entity is giving me advice?
What do you mean?
Like something that does not have a physical body, does not breathe air, and does not digest food is giving me advice on organic farming supplements or telling me about the perfect morning stretching routine. It feels like a massive breach of authenticity.
This raises an important question, and honestly, that is the core philosophical friction of the entire industry. You naturally assume that biological reality is a prerequisite for authentic, trustworthy advice.
I do. It seems logical.
But the guide leans heavily on a principle that behavioral psychologists have understood for decades. The human brain values consistency over biological reality. Trust isn't exclusively built on flesh and blood. Trust is an emergent property of a reliable internal narrative, a highly specific perspective, and dependable behavior over time.
So you're saying if the digital character consistently advocates for a specific type of soil regeneration and provides genuinely helpful, scientifically accurate information about that soil, the follower's brain eventually stops caring that the messenger is made of pixels.
Exactly. It's the mindset and the value that builds the trust, not the physical form. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. If the pattern of value is consistent, the brain accepts the source.
Oh, wow.
This is why the guy's audience targeting step is so intensely rigorous. Before you even open an image generator, before you render a single pixel of an eyelash, the guide instructs you to open ChatGPT.
Wait, you start with text.
You start with text. You don't prompt it to make a face. You prompt it to define an ideal follower. You map out their exact age bracket, the daily pain points, their platform preferences, and their financial aspirations. You are engineering a positioning angle so sharp, so defined, that your early followers can describe your AI account to their friends in a single punchy sentence.
Let me give you an example of how that looks in practice for the listener. You don't want someone to say, oh, follow this account, she posts about tech, that's dead on arrival. You want an angle so sharp that a follower says, oh, you have to follow this account, it's a cyberpunk botanist who reviews sustainable off-grid solar tech.
Boom. One sentence.
Exactly, one sentence. It immediately communicates the visual aesthetic, the value proposition, and the niche.
And once you have established that rigorous intellectual and strategic foundation, then the guide permits you to start building the visual avatar. And the beginner toolkit they recommend is fascinatingly streamlined. They aren't asking you to learn complex 3D modeling software like Blender or Unreal Engine.
No, the software stack is completely off the shelf. Let's break down the mechanics of what they actually suggest for you to use. For the base visual generation, getting that hyper-realistic, poor-level detail, you are looking at Midjourney.
Midjourney is currently the gold standard for that static realism.
Right, but if you are just brainstorming and want incredibly fast, cheap iterations to test out outfit ideas or color palettes, you use DALE natively within ChatGPT.
It's faster for prototyping.
Yeah, exactly. But here is where the absolute magic trick happens, the video. The guide heavily recommends a platform called HeyGen. How does a tool like HeyGen actually take a static, silent Midjourney image and turn it into a convincing talking head? I still don't fully grasp the tech.
Mechanistically, tools like HeyGen are utilizing advanced facial mapping and audio-driven animation models. You upload the static Midjourney portrait, then you upload an audio file, usually a synthesized voice generated from a script.
Okay, so you have a picture and a voice file.
Right. The AI then analyzes the phonetic sounds in the audio file, the ahs, the oohs, the hard consonants, and it maps those specific audio frequencies to corresponding micro-movements of the lips, jaw, and facial muscles on the static image.
So it's reading the sound, not video references.
Exactly. It mathematically morphs the pixels of the mouth to match the audio waveform in real time. This creates incredibly natural lip sync without you ever having to manually animate a single frame.
It's essentially digital puppetry driven purely by sound waves. That is insane. And for those listening who want to test this out without immediately dropping cash, the guide mentions DID, which offers a robust free tier for testing these talking head mechanics.
GID is a great starting point for beginners to get a feel for the workflow.
And finally, Canva acts as the organizational glue. You use it to build your brand kits, lock in your specific hex codes for colors, choose your fonts, and assemble the final assets.
The visual tools are vital, yes. But they are just the paint. The actual masterpiece, the engine that makes this entire illusion sustainable long-term, is what the guide calls the character document. This is the secret sauce.
I found the character document concept absolutely fascinating. It proves this isn't just about typing generate a pretty 25-year-old in a coffee shop. Because if you do that, your character will look slightly different every time, act differently every time, and the illusion completely shatters.
It breaks the immersion instantly.
Right. You essentially have to build a soul for the machine. You have to act as the head writer and showrunner for a one-person television series.
You are creating a persistent semantic boundary for the language model. When you build a character document, you are writing a highly detailed system prompt. You feed the AI an exact biological age, a rich, complex background story. Where did they go to school? What was their major trauma?
Wow, trauma.
Yes. You have to define deeply held ethical values, recurring verbal habits or catchphrases, and highly specific, opinionated perspectives on their niche.
Okay, so going back to our sustainable living example, You don't just say, talk about the environment. You prompt the AI with, you are absolutely furious about fast fashion. And whenever you bring it up, you use a sarcastic tone and always use the phrase landfill couture.
That's a perfect example.
You lock these parameters into the AI's memory. That way, whether you are generating a script on a Monday or a caption on Friday, there is a unified, unbreakable tonal consistency. The followers need to sense a rigid, reliable personality underneath the pixels, or they will just scroll past it as another generic piece of AI art.
That rigid tonal consistency is the only way you can feed the algorithmic content machine at scale without breaking the psychological illusion for the audience.
And the algorithm's appetite is truly insatiable. So you've built this perfect digital puppet, you've given it a compelling, consistent backstory using the character document. Now it needs something to actually say every single day. How do you feed this content machine without sitting at your laptop for 40 hours a week?
This is where the guide introduces a massive strategic pivot: the content engine.
The content engine. Let's get into it.
The engine runs on a highly structured, mathematically balanced framework called the 50-30-20 rule. This isn't just a suggestion. It is a required content ratio designed to simultaneously satisfy the platform algorithms and deeply engage human psychology.
Think of this 50-30-20 rule like a balanced diet for your audience. Let's break the macros down. 50% of your total content output must be pure value. These are your educational multi-slide carousels, your step-by-step how-to guides, your actionable industry tips. The core metric you are chasing here is the save.
Yeah.
You want the user to look at the post and think, this is so dense and useful, I need to bookmark it to read later.
The save is the highest signal interaction you can give an algorithm right now. It tells the platform, this content is practically a reference manual. Then you shift to the 30%, which is entertainment.
The fun stuff.
Exactly. These are your visually dynamic reels, your character jumping on a trending audio, or a quick, punchy visual joke. The psychological goal here is entirely different. You're casting a wide net to attract brand new followers who are just looking for a quick dopamine hit and visual stimulation.
And then you have the final 20%, which is community. This is where the parasocial relationship is actually forged. These are your raw, behind-the-scenes Instagram stories, your interactive polls, your direct questions thrown out to the audience. You are actively inviting them to participate in the character's daily life.
The community pillar is what drives your overall engagement rate. It transforms passive scrollers into active participants. And the guide makes a brilliant point about the danger of ignoring this ratio.
What happens if you mess up the math?
Well, if you skew too heavily toward the 50% value side,
Right.
your character becomes a dry, faceless textbook. People might save your posts, but they won't care about you.
Right, there's no personality.
Exactly. But if you skew too heavily toward the 30% entertainment side, you become a digital clown. You get millions of hollow views, but zero loyalty and zero trust. The 50-30-20 ratio is the exact equilibrium required to build a monetizable audience.
But hitting that equilibrium requires a staggering volume of content. I mean, the guide's benchmark is intense. It says 4 to 5 high-value feed posts per week, plus 2 to 3 highly edited reels, plus daily interactive stories.
It's a massive workload.
If a biological human creator were trying to maintain that schedule, it would be a relentless 60-hour-a-week grind.
And yet, utilizing the AI workflow, the guide models this entire production schedule down to roughly 15 to 30 minutes of active human management per day.
Okay, let me be the voice of the skeptical listener for a second here. Producing a fully scripted, lip-synced video, plus a visually stunning multi-slide educational carousel, all perfectly aligned with a brand voice, in 20 minutes. It sounds like absolute science fiction. Walk me through the actual mechanics of how that timeline is possible.
It is entirely possible, but only if you leverage the concept of AI repurposing. The workflow doesn't operate like a human creating from scratch every time. It operates like an automated digital assembly line.
Okay, how does it start?
It starts with the character document we discussed. You open ChatGPT, and you feed it your core thesis, say, the hidden microplastics in tea bags. ChatGPT cross-references that thesis with your character document and instantly spits out a 60-second video script written exactly in your avatar's unique, sarcastic voice.
Okay, so the writing is done in 10 seconds.
Exactly. You take that script text and paste it directly into Hagen. Hagen instantly maps that text to a synthesized voice and applies the phonetic lip sync to your Midjourney avatar.
And while that's generating,
Right, while Hagen is rendering that video in the cloud, you don't sit there waiting. You immediately ask ChatGPT to take that exact same script and reformat it. You prompt it, extract the core arguments from this script, and turn them into a 5-slide educational carousel caption.
So you were squeezing every single drop of utility out of a single idea.
Precisely. You download the HeyGen video, drop it into CapCut, which automatically generates the on-screen captions and lets you snap it to a trending audio track, and your video is done. Meanwhile, the carousel text is already written.
It's algorithmic meal prepping. You make a massive batch of base conceptual ingredients, and the AI instantly chops them up into different platform formats. But my absolute favorite tactic in this entire workflow is the 2-minute manual caption trick. It is so deceptively simple, but it is the anchor of the whole illusion.
It addresses the uncanny valley of AI copywriting, because AI text is often structurally perfect, grammatically flawless, and completely devoid of human messiness.
It's too perfect.
Right, so the guide advises that before you ever hit publish on an AI-generated caption, you must spend exactly 2 minutes manually injecting friction.
It's that tiny dash of human seasoning. Like, you let the AI write a flawless, highly informative caption detailing the exact molecular breakdown of organic compost. It's brilliant, but it's sterile. Then, as the human operator, you manually type at the very end. Ugh, honestly though, I spilled half this compost on my white sneakers this morning, and I am still absolutely furious about it.
That deliberate injection of mundane, relatable frustration serves as a psychological sleight of hand. The human brain reads that messy, emotional complaint and immediately categorizes the entire post as originating from a flawed, relatable human being.
It bridges the gap between synthetic perfection and human empathy.
Exactly.
So you have this optimized assembly line, you have a mountain of perfectly balanced 5e30/20 content, it's got the human seasoning, but having great content is completely irrelevant if the distribution algorithms decide to bury it in the feed. How do you get the cold calculating machines that run these platforms to actually care about your new AI creation?
Well, this requires a shift from content creation to the science of algorithmic distribution. The guide is very clear that you cannot treat all platforms as a monolith. You must become an algorithm whisperer.
Because they all want different things.
Right. An Instagram strategy will actively fail on TikTok, and a TikTok strategy will fall flat on YouTube Shorts because the underlying code prioritizes entirely different user behaviors.
Think of the algorithms as different types of gatekeepers. Let's start with Instagram. The guide explains that Instagram functions a bit like a highly observant librarian. It prioritizes Reels for reaching new people, but its true love is the save button.
It loves bookmarks.
Yeah. If your 50% value carousel gets saved by 100 people, the Instagram algorithm takes note. It says, this specific demographic finds this highly valuable. It then aggressively pushes your profile to lookalike audiences, basically thousands of other users with similar behavioral data profiles. Instagram rewards bookmarkable, dense value.
TikTok, however, is an entirely different behavioral engine. TikTok does not care if your post is a masterpiece of educational value. TikTok functions like a ruthless street performer measuring the crowd.
That's a great analogy.
It distributes brand new accounts based almost exclusively on one metric, watch-through rate, specifically focused on the first 3 seconds. If you can stop the scroll and hold a viewer to the end of a video, TikTok will push that video to the moon, completely ignoring how many followers you currently have.
And this is where the playing field is radically, unbelievably leveled for you as a beginner. The source explicitly highlights that a brand new AI account with literal 0 followers can publish a video on TikTok and hit hundreds of thousands of views in a single hour.
It happens all the time.
Why? Because the algorithm only tests the content against small batches of users. If the batch watches it, it pushes it to a larger batch. A teenager in their bedroom engineering a synthetic avatar has the exact same algorithmic opportunity to go viral as an A-list celebrity with 10 million followers, provided their first 3 seconds are stickier.
To reliably capture that 3-second window, the guide instructs creators to remove human guesswork entirely and rely on high-volume A/B testing.
How do you do that?
For every core video concept, you use ChatGPT to generate 5 distinctly different psychological hooks. You test a curiosity gap, like the one sustainable swap nobody talks about. You test a bold, polarizing claim. You test a surprising statistical fact. You test a direct, aggressive question to the viewer. You test all of them over time, and you let the raw retention data dictate which psychological trigger your specific audience responds to best.
And while everyone is fighting a bloodbath for attention on TikTok, the guide points to YouTube Shorts as this massive, underutilized goldmine.
It is the arbitrage opportunity of 2026. YouTube Shorts is attached to the second largest search engine in the world. It offers massive, free, organic reach to logged-in users.
And people actually search for things there.
Exactly. More importantly, because it is inherently tied to search intent, the competition for high-quality, dense, educational AI content is incredibly low compared to the entertainment-heavy feed of TikTok. The demographic skews slightly older, and they are actively looking for solutions, not just distractions.
But throwing all these different hooks and videos at 3 different algorithms creates a massive amount of noise. How do you actually isolate what is working? You can't just operate on a gut feeling when dealing with code.
No, intuition is the enemy of algorithmic growth. You must operate like a data scientist. The guide mandates the use of third-party analytics tools. They specifically cite Metricool's free plan as sufficient for starting out.
So you have to track everything.
You are instructed to obsessively track reach, the ratio of engagement to impressions, the save rate, and the follower conversion rate. But collecting data is useless if you don't apply the scientific method to your testing.
The rule of isolated variables. The guide stresses that you must test one and only one variable at a time. Let's say you decide to change your headline font, shift your daily posting time by 3 hours, and introduce a new content topic all in the same week.
That's a disaster for data.
Exactly, because if your engagement suddenly spikes by 200%, you have a massive problem. You have absolutely no idea which of those 3 changes caused the spike, which means you can't replicate it. You have to change one thing, say, just the posting time, and hold it steady for 2 solid weeks to gather clean data.
And this leads to what I consider the most conceptually advanced tactic in the entire document. At the end of the month, a human creator usually stares at a dashboard of line graphs and tries to guess the trends.
Right, just squinting at the screen.
Yeah. This guide suggests you bypass human limitations entirely. You export your raw, unedited performance data, massive CSV spreadsheets containing thousands of rows of metrics for every post, and you upload that raw file directly back into ChatGPT's advanced data analysis tool.
You are literally feeding the machine's reaction back into the machine that created the content.
Nice.
You prompt the AI to analyze its own performance. You ask it to hunt for latent behavioral patterns and hidden format correlations that a human eye would simply gloss over in a wall of numbers.
A human might notice that Tuesday posts do well, but the AI will analyze the dataset and return a vastly more nuanced insight. It might report, across 40 posts, videos that utilize a question-based hook feature the color yellow in the first frame and are posted between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on Tuesdays have a 45% higher completion rate.
That is terrifyingly specific.
It isolates the microvariables of success. It is machine learning optimizing machine-generated content in a closed compounding loop.
It's brilliantly, ruthlessly efficient, but we have to hit the brakes here for a second. Let's say you've executed this perfectly. The AI optimizes the hooks, the algorithm loves the watch-through rate, and you are getting 1 million views a week. The reality is, algorithmic reach is just a vanity metric. 1 million views is entirely worthless if those people watch for 10 seconds and immediately scroll away, forgetting you exist. You don't have influence, you just have a momentary spike in a database. So how does computer code transition from generating views to building genuine emotional community trust?
This is where we cross from data science into deep behavioral psychology. The guide recognizes that attention is fleeting, but trust is monetizable. To convert a view into a bond, it outlines a series of strict, almost aggressive engagement tactics designed to synthesize the feeling of community.
What's the biggest one?
The most crucial rule applies to the golden hour, the first 60 minutes after your AI post goes live. The mandate is that you, the human operator, must manually reply to every single comment left by a user.
Every single one. If 100 people comment, you are typing 100 replies. Why is that first hour so utterly critical?
Because the algorithm treats that first hour as a crucible. It isn't just measuring how many people like the post. It is measuring the velocity of reciprocal conversation. If a user comments and the creator instantly replies and the user replies back, the algorithm categorizes that post not just as content, but as a community hub.
So it changes how the code views your post.
It assigns it a massive internal weight and instantly broadens the distribution network to thousands of new feeds. You are hacking the algorithm's desire for active time on app.
But let's be realistic. If your goal is to trigger hundreds of comments to hack the distribution, but you also want to reply to all of them, that sounds incredibly exhausting. If I post a complex carousel about sustainable supply chains, I don't want to engage in 50 deep philosophical debates in the comment section every morning.
Which is exactly why the guide introduces the psychological concept of low-friction interaction.
Mm.
You do not want deep debates.
Ugh.
Deep debates require high cognitive load from the user, which means most people will just scroll past instead of typing an answer.
So what do you do instead?
Instead, you use ChatGPT to generate a master library of 50 to 60 low-friction, binary questions tailored perfectly to your character's voice. You append one of these questions to the very bottom of every single caption.
I see. You deliberately lower the barrier to entry. Instead of ending your post with, what are your profound, nuanced thoughts on the geopolitical implications of offshore wind farming, which requires a user to stop, think, and draft a whole paragraph, you end the post with a simple binary choice. Matcha or coffee, drop an emoji.
Exactly. Or, are you Team Solar or Team Wind? Let me know below. It requires a one-word answer. It takes the user 2 seconds. It minimizes the cognitive load, resulting in a massive surge in comment volume.
Which triggers the
It
algorithm.
triggers the algorithm, which boosts the post. It is a highly engineered engagement loop.
And it's not just the text interactions that build this trust. It's the visual reliability, too. The guide insists on a monthly profile grid audit. You have to zoom out and look at your entire Instagram grid as a single cohesive billboard.
First impressions matter immensely.
Right. When a new user clicks your profile from a viral reel, they make a subconscious decision to follow or leave within roughly 2 seconds. If your grid is a chaotic mess of different lighting styles, clashing fonts, and inconsistent character faces, they bounce. The grid must instantly communicate your exact niche and brand aesthetic without them having to read a single word.
The visual cohesion is the baseline requirement. But what's fascinating here is the true psychological depth. The mechanism that actually locks a user in for years is narrative progression.
Like a story.
Yes, the guide is adamant that your digital character cannot be a static painting. They must experience the passage of time. They must have a serialized narrative arc.
They have to evolve just like we do. They need to face minor failures. They need to get frustrated. Maybe they change their apartment in the background of their videos, or they get a digital haircut to mark a new season of your life.
Exactly. They need a timeline.
They have to constantly reference past storylines to reward the followers who have been paying attention. A post starting with, as you guys know, ever since my digital rescue dog ruined my favorite rug in episode 3, instantly makes a long-term follower feel like an insider.
It is the exact same mechanism used by television showrunners. It's serialized parasocial storytelling.
You know, I have to pause here because as we map out these tactics, a profound sense of irony is just washing over me. Let's look at what we're actually discussing. We are talking about building authentic trust, fostering genuine community, and creating relatable human connections. And how are we doing it? By using a completely synthetic, pixel-generated persona, deploying a pre-calculated library of 60 low-cognitive friction engagement questions, algorithmically hacking a 1-hour reply window, and manufacturing a fake chronological narrative arc. It feels incredibly calculated. To a lot of people listening, it might feel deeply cynical, almost manipulative.
Well, it is entirely engineered. But we have to look at how the human mind actually processes narrative. The fascinating reality is that the brain's emotional centers do not inherently distinguish between biological truth and a consistently executed fiction.
Really?
Humans are fundamentally, biologically wired to bond over reliable narrative arcs. Consider how deeply, passionately people care about fictional characters in novels or anime or massive television franchises.
Oh, that's a fair point. We cry over movies all the time.
Exactly. We feel genuine grief when a fictional character dies. We feel genuine elation when they succeed. We form entire online communities around analyzing their fake lives. The brain doesn't say, this is ink on paper, stop caring. If the story is compelling and the interaction is reliable, the brain inevitably forms a deep parasocial relationship.
So the true definition of authenticity, in this context at least, has nothing to do with whether you have a pulse. The authenticity is located entirely in the consistency of the narrative. If the AI influencer consistently shows up, consistently provides high-value educational content, consistently entertains, and consistently replies to the audience's comments, the human user feels a bond that is functionally identical to a genuine relationship.
Functionally identical and highly measurable. The trust is real, the attention is real, even if the focal point of that attention is lines of code.
And the moment you have successfully engineered that deep, reliable parasocial relationship, you have captured the most valuable commodity on Earth, human attention. You have an audience. And in 2026, holding an audience's attention means you possess a highly lucrative business asset,
It's extremely lucrative.
which transitions us perfectly into how you actually cash out. How does this playbook instruct you to extract financial value from this synthetic identity? Let's break down the business model.
The guide structures monetization not as a sudden lottery win, but as a deliberate three-stage timeline that unlocks predictably as your audience metrics hit specific thresholds. And what surprises most beginners is how early stage one begins. Stage one is affiliate marketing.
According to the source material, this revenue stream becomes viable at just 500 to 1,000 highly engaged followers. That completely destroys the myth that you need to go viral and hit 100,000 followers before you see a single dollar.
You do not need mass scale, you need mass trust. The operational advantage here relies on native integration. If a human influencer wants to sell an affiliate tech gadget, they have to physically order it, wait for shipping, set up the camera, and film an awkward review video that clearly looks like a commercial.
Right, the ad voice.
With an AI creator, you bypass physical logistics entirely. You simply open Midjourney and generate a photorealistic image of your AI character casually holding the affiliate product in a beautifully lit coffee shop.
It doesn't disrupt the feed at all. It just looks like their normal outfit of the day or a casual lifestyle post. The follower doesn't feel like they're being aggressively pitched. They just ask, "Hey, what headphones are those?" And the AI replies, "Link in bio." It is utterly frictionless.
Once you master affiliate flow and your audience grows, you unlock stage two brand sponsorships. The guide definitively states that direct paid sponsorships are accessible at an audience size of 5,000 to 10,000 followers.
Wait, I really want you, the listener, to absorb that number. 5,000 followers.
In the grand scheme of social media, that sounds tiny. For years, the prevailing wisdom was that you needed a stadium-sized fan base of 1 million people to get brands to take your email seriously. Why are brands suddenly writing checks to digital avatars with just 5,000 fans?
Because the marketing industry has completely reevaluated how they measure return on investment. Brands have realized through hard data that a micro-audience of 5,000 hyper-engaged, niche-specific followers is vastly more profitable than a macro-audience of 1 million passive scrollers who, frankly, don't care about the creator's opinion. Engagement overreach.
Yes. The guide explicitly notes the metrics you need to prove your worth to a brand. You need a solid 3% to 5% engagement rate on your Instagram posts or a 5% engagement rate on TikTok.
So the raw follower count is just an ego metric. The brand only cares about the percentage of action. When your cyberpunk botanist recommends a new solar panel, the brand wants to know that 5% of your audience will immediately click the link, rather than 0.01% of a massive generic audience.
Precisely. You are selling concentrated trust. And as that trust scales, you move into stage 3, the ultimate financial goal, to fiche products.
Digital products are the holy grail because the margins are practically illegal. We are talking about custom prompt packs, niche-specific PDF guides, or Notion templates. Here's how the guide says you build them. You don't guess what your audience wants.
No, you let the data tell you.
You let your analytics dashboard tell you. If you look at your Metricool data and see that your AI's carousels about budget-friendly eco swaps have a massively disproportionate save rate, you have your product. You package a massive 50-page ultimate eco-swap guide, completely generated and formatted by AI, and you sell it directly to the audience that just proved they want it.
The profit margin on a digital product is essentially 100%. The AI generated the intellectual property for free, and the digital delivery mechanism costs nothing.
It's pure profit.
But managing affiliate links, negotiating brand deals, and writing digital products while simultaneously generating 15 pieces of 50-30-20 content a week, this introduces a critical operational bottleneck.
Fair.
How does a single human operator scale this business without drowning in the sheer logistical complexity of it all?
The guide is incredibly stern on this point. Scaling an AI influencer empire is absolutely not about working harder or grinding longer hours. It is strictly mathematically about systems. Specifically, it demands the absolute non-negotiable practice of batching.
Batching is the defense against mental switching costs. You may wake up on a Tuesday and think, what should I post today? Let me open Midjourney, write a script, and edit a video. You have already failed.
Because it just drains you.
The context switching will drain your energy and ruin the character's consistency. The guide mandates dedicating 1 or 2 uninterrupted 90-minute sessions per week to generate the entire content slate for the next 7 to 14 days.
So you sit down on a Sunday morning with your coffee, you open your prompt libraries, and let's underline the importance of prompt libraries here. The guide stresses that these are your actual business assets.
They are the factory floor.
Right. A prompt library is a documented list of your most successful, perfectly tuned ChatGPT and Midjourney instructions. You aren't staring at a blank page waiting for inspiration. You simply copy your proven educational carousel prompt, change the core topic variable, and hit enter. You generate all the scripts, render all the videos, and write all the captions in one continuous flow state assembly line.
And once the assets are rendered, you do not post them manually. You dump the entire batch into automation software like SocialBee, Buffer, or Later. You schedule the entire week down to the minute. The AI influencer's inherent production advantage, its tirelessness, only compounds if the human operator relentlessly maintains the prompt libraries and the automation schedule.
Okay, so we have the grand unified theory of AI influencers. We understand the specific tech stack, the psychological necessity of the character document, the 50-30-20 algorithm-pleasing content ratio, and the 3-stage monetization pipeline.
We've covered a lot.
But having the theory is where 99% of people stop. Execution is where people actually fail because they get overwhelmed by the blank canvas. So let's look at the exact day-by-day blueprint the guide provides to prevent that overwhelm. This is designed to take a listener from absolute zero to a fully functioning, monetized launch.
The 30-day launch plan is a masterclass in behavioral restraint. It deliberately, systematically holds the creator back from rushing into the feed.
Let's walk through it. Week 1 is purely foundational. In fact, the guide writes in bold letters, "And no posting. Do not touch the publish button."
Resist the urge.
Exactly. You spend the entirety of week 1 researching your specific niche, building out your Canva brand kit so your visual colors are locked, generating your consistent Midjourney character seeds, and painstakingly writing the psychological parameters of your character document.
You are building the factory floor. Week 2 shifts entirely to strategy and production. You look at your calendar and map out 4 weeks of content themes based on the 50-30-20 rule. Then, you use your batching session to generate the very first 7 days of complete posts. You fill the pipeline before you ever turn on the public faucets.
Then, and only then, in week 3, do you launch. You go live. You let the automation tool post daily, and your only job as a human operator is to sit at your laptop for that crucial 1-hour window after every post, manually deploying your low-friction questions and replying to every single comment to train the platform's algorithm that your new account is a hyper-engaged community hub.
Week 4 is the review phase. The initial adrenaline of the launch is gone. Now you export your raw data, feed it to ChatGPT, analyze what hooks and visuals actually retained attention, adapt your week 5 production batch based on those hard truths, and critically, you begin your very first cold outreach emails for affiliate marketing integrations.
To keep creators from losing their minds with impatience, the guide provides a milestones tracker to set realistic expectations. By day 30, following the system perfectly, you should only expect roughly 100 to 300 true followers.
It's a slow start.
Yeah. By day 60, you should hit 500 to 1,000 followers, and you should expect your first highly optimized reel to finally crack the 1,000 view threshold. At month 6, you are looking at 5K to 10K followers and the beginning of inbound paid brand inquiries. And by month 12, the compounding effect takes over 15K to 30K followers and a reliable, active sponsorship income stream.
But there is a vital, almost somber psychological warning embedded in the source material regarding this exact timeline. The first 30 days are deliberately agonizingly slow. You will feel like you are speaking into an empty digital void.
Why is that? If the content is perfectly optimized, why does the algorithm throttle you?
Because the algorithms are inherently conservative and deeply suspicious of brand new accounts posting highly polished content. They assume you might be a spam bot.
Ah, that makes sense.
Right. They are actively testing your reliability. They want to see if you will maintain high-quality daily production even when literally no one is watching and you are getting zero dopamine validation. Most traditional human creators quit during this exact phase because the emotional toll of producing without applause is too high. The guide explicitly states that quitting in month 1 is the primary reason for failure.
So, synthesizing everything we've unpacked today, what does this actually mean for you, the listener? It means the game has fundamentally changed. You are essentially looking at the opportunity to buy an influencer franchise in a box.
That's exactly what it is.
The entire playbook is documented. The creative heavy lifting, the editing, the lip syncing, it's all outsourced to incredibly cheap machine learning models. The only variable left in the equation is you. It comes down entirely to your personal discipline to sit down on Sunday, follow the batching checklist, and ruthlessly push your way through that initial 30-day algorithmic desert.
That is the ultimate reality of the 2026 creator economy. The technology has solved the production problem. It has not solved the discipline problem.
This has been an absolutely wild journey to deconstruct. We started by looking at how democratized and accessible these AI tools have become. Literally 80 quid and a laptop replaces a Hollywood production studio.
It's incredible.
We explored the deep psychology of architecting a compelling, deeply nuanced persona from thin air using a character document. We mapped out the science of algorithm whispering, hacking the retention distribution on TikTok versus the save-heavy culture of Instagram. We discussed the strange, beautiful paradox of building genuine emotional synthetic trust. And finally, we walked step by step through the strict, disciplined 30-day blueprint required to actually build and monetize this digital creation.
And as we wrap up, I think it is crucial to reiterate the core urgent message from the source text. The first mover advantage in this specific space is still open right now in 2026, but it is a closing window.
The clock is ticking.
It is. The compounding algorithmic trust and the deep audience loyalty being captured by these early AI accounts today will be incredibly, perhaps impossibly hard for new, later entrants to disrupt in 2027 or 2028. The digital real estate is being claimed right now.
It really is a digital gold rush, and this guide is essentially handing out the high-tech shovels. We've just spent this entire deep dive looking at how incredibly well artificial intelligence can be programmed to perfectly mimic human authenticity, to maintain relentless consistency, and to synthesize community building to absolutely dominate the social media algorithms.
It's doing it better than we can. In some
All
ways.
right, but I want to leave you with something to really chew on before you close this app. As these tireless, perfectly optimized, flawlessly consistent AI influencers set a brand new, impossible gold standard for perfect algorithmic performance and frictionless parasocial relationships. What happens when the actual biological human influencers realize they have to start acting more and more like machines just to keep up? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the feed, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to AI Creator World Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, make sure to follow the podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and share this episode with another creator who is building their future online. For deeper guides, AI tools, and step-by-step growth strategies, visit our website at aicreatorworld.net. And remember, in the age of artificial intelligence, creators who learn faster will lead the future. See you in the next episode. Bye!